Thanks so much for joining us for another edition of KFFB's Open Mic program. And we do have Congressman French Hill with us right now. And Congressman, thanks so much for taking time and talking with us.
Bob, it's great to be with you. Thanks for the invitation.
Well, we got to talk about the Keystone Pipeline. It feels like I've been talking about this, I guess, around 12 years now. The Keystone Pipeline has been endorsed by Democrats and Republicans of Arkansas and pretty much all the way to Canada. It really helps a lot of welders and the big factory there in Little Rock. And tell us what's going on here. What's going to happen with the Keystone Pipeline?
So we've introduced legislation to get the Keystone Pipeline built. We're lobbying the Biden administration to change their view. Many on Capitol Hill are voicing opposition to this wrong-headed decision that Joe Biden made in the midst of a pandemic where we're trying to get people back to work and keep them employed. This is a major infrastructure project that's embraced by Canada, the United States, and all the states from the Dakotas to Texas support it being built. They have employed people that are in services supporting the construction jobs and the construction of this pipeline. So we're fighting hard to get it built. And I hate the fact that Arkansas citizens are hurt by the canceling of this job single-handedly by Joe Biden. I've also introduced legislation with my friends, led by Mark Wayne Mullen of Oklahoma, to take this kind of authority away from the president. You know, we shouldn't have a major international economic infrastructure project dependent on just the one person, the president, deciding, well, I want to do that or I don't want to do it. We had the same problem with Barack Obama. So we say that international pipelines crossing the Mexican or Canadian border or electrical transmission lines are approved by Congress, not by executive order at the White House.
Well, that's one thing we keep saying. When you look at Arkansas, we have coal plants, nuclear plants, hydro plants. We have wires, going everywhere, powering everybody. And then we also have pipelines coming out with natural gas. And a lot of Arkansans have a question mark. Why is that more important than us? Now, another thing we got to talk about, this Biden's $1.9 trillion bill that he is pushing, and that is something that has been stated. It's not really unified here. And it's got a big question mark. Many back here at home say you take $1,000 and give to 300 million Americans, it still doesn't add up to $1.9 trillion. So where does the rest of the money go?
This money is going to big states to bail them out of their bad fiscal policies. We have already spent 18% of our gross domestic product, $4 trillion between March and now on COVID relief and getting our economy reopened to try to stabilize it after the impact of the pandemic. $4 trillion. It's what we spend in a whole year in the federal government. We've added that on top of that annual spending to fight the pandemic. And we still have $1 trillion, Bob, from that bill that we haven't spent. $1 trillion hasn't been spent of money already approved by Congress, signed into law by President Trump. So Joe Biden asking for $1.9 trillion more in unfocused, untargeted relief that we don't believe there's a call for that. But don't take our word for it. Larry Summers, Bill Clinton economic advisor, Barack Obama economic advisor, former Treasury Secretary, says the $1.9 trillion is a mistake. It's too big and too overwhelming, and it's not needed at this moment. Let's spend the money that we've already appropriated and then see what we need to do as the economy reopens and the vaccines are fully distributed around our nation.
Can they push this through without bipartisan help? I mean, it's got to go across the aisle, basically.
Yes. Well, they don't, because they're using a budget rule in the Congress called budget reconciliation. This allows them to move it with 51 votes in the Senate and a simple majority in the House. So they are able to move this bill without Republican votes. I'm in Washington this week debating this bill in committee. All the committees are debating that $1.9 trillion right now. And we're going to lose because we don't control the House, and all they need is 50 Democratic votes in the Senate plus the Vice President Harris tiebreaker to push this through and jam it onto the American people.
That's something that we're going to have to watch and see what happens. I think that is something that is changing the Senate, where the Senate is not the House, and treating it that way is kind of a scary. It kind of messes up our balance, looking at your history lesson.
Well, it was a real challenge because we lost both those Senate races in Georgia in the special election on January 5th, and that teed up this dire prospect that we're not going to have a very circumspected approach rush at targeted spending, that we're just going to let the Democrats maintain full control.
There is a resolution honoring U.S. Capitol Police. Explain what that's all about.
Well, in the events on January 6th, where our Capitol was unfortunately and horrifically attacked by a small group of rioters that really threatened the safety of the House and Senate and the staff, we lost 2 Capitol policemen that day, Bob. One was beaten to death and died in the hospital. The other, due to the events, committed suicide later that day. We have a bipartisan bill that I've written with my friend Ed Perlmutter, who's a Democrat from Denver, Colorado. We are honoring the rank and file men and women in uniform that day from the Capitol Police, the D.C. Police, that tried to defend the Capitol from this mob attack, under-supported. So the top leadership at the Capitol and security in the District of Columbia, I think, failed these officers, but our resolution commemorates their bravery for trying to protect the Capitol and the people working in the Capitol.
And I know this is a subject that everybody's been just hit. Every newscast, that's all we're hearing is about the impeachment trial. Any insight from what you're seeing in D.C. about the impeachment trial to come?
Well, it's going to continue through this weekend. The Senate is sitting in a trial of President Trump. The Democrats are making their case that President Trump personally encouraged literal insurrection in attacking the Capitol. That's the case they're trying to make. And attorneys representing President Trump will make the case that that's not the case. I don't believe it is the case. I think free speech is protected in this country, and I believe that the president's lawyers will make that case successfully in the Senate. But hopefully the Senate trial and the vote will conclude sometime between now and Monday.
Well, I appreciate you taking time and updating us on this Friday.
Thank you, Bob. You bet.